The U.S. House of Representatives has approved President Donald Trump's sprawling tax relief and spending cuts mega bill. The White House claims that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which now moves to the Senate, would usher into law Trump's vision for a new golden age. But critics warn it would become and decimate healthcare while ballooning the debt. The U.S. House passed the bill by just one vote after a marathon debate that went through the night. The mammoth package passed along party lines, 215 votes to 214, after Republican leadership quelled a rebellion on the party's right flank that threatened its passage.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 214, with one answering present. The bill is passed. USA.
Ahead of the vote, the House, led by Speaker Mike Johnson, initiated a debate around midnight. The Democrats argued about the potential impact of the tax bill on several existing federal programs, while Republican lawmakers rallied behind the proposed bill as a way forward to best assist the American citizens.
We saw today that the president has said that a vote against this legislation represents an ultimate betrayal. The real betrayal, Mr. Speaker, is to the working people of this country who will pay the price so that billionaires can pay less in taxes. Mr. Speaker, our friends on the other side of the aisle said that they wouldn't cut Medicaid, and that's exactly what this bill does. They said that they would end taxes on tips, but they forgot to mention that the trade-off is that you'll lose your health care. The American people didn't sign up for these broken promises.
Let's be clear. What my Democrat colleagues are prioritizing when they say they oppose our bill, what they're really saying is 4.8 million people who refuse to work a part-time job or volunteer in their community are entitled to free health care paid by hardworking taxpayers. When they're opposed to our bill, what they're really saying is that the 1.4 million illegal immigrants should be prioritized over U.S. citizens.
In a social media post, President Trump hailed the narrow vote as a significant piece of legislation in U.S. history. The U.S. President also urged the Senate to give the bill a clear passage into their upcoming vote. The bill is the centerpiece of Trump's domestic policy agenda, but the package had faced skepticism from Republican fiscal hawks who say the country is moving towards bankruptcy. Democrats have called the bill devastating for the middle class, pointing to CBO estimates that it cuts to public health insurance for low-income Americans. The bill is likely to undergo at least a month of significant rewrites in the Senate. And WION correspondent Susan Tehrani tells us what hurdles does Trump's big, beautiful bill face in the Senate. Listen to this.
Trump's big, beautiful bill is a sweeping federal spending package packed with funding for defense, border security, and infrastructure. But it's already facing stiff resistance on Capitol Hill. As a massive appropriation bill, it already requires 60 votes in the Senate, which means some Democrats need to be on board. That's unlikely considering the fact that Democrats are calling it bloated and ideologically driven. Even some Republicans are uneasy about the price tag, projecting it to add significantly to the deficit. With 2026 midterms approaching, the bill is shaping up to be a high-stakes fight over the vision of President Trump for his second term.
The U.S. House of Representatives narrowly passed a $4 trillion Republican fiscal plan by a margin of just one vote. The bill seeks to permanently extend Trump-era tax cuts while enacting deep spending reductions across key welfare programs. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the plan would increase the federal deficit by over $4 trillion over the next decade. Republicans argue the measure promotes growth and fiscal discipline. Democrats call it a transfer of wealth to the rich at the expense of the poor. At the heart of the bill are sweeping cuts to Medicaid, food assistance, and other safety net programs. Medicaid alone would be slashed by $716 billion, potentially removing coverage for 7.6 million low-income Americans by 2034. A work requirement for Medicaid eligibility would take effect in 2026. The bill also scales back food stamp benefits and imposes stricter eligibility rules for Pell Grants, housing aid, and other welfare schemes. Critics warn that these measures could disproportionately impact the poorest Americans. The legislation extends nearly all of 2017 Trump tax cuts, including reduced individual rates and deductions. It also restores full expenses for business investments and key research and development tax breaks. According to the Tax Policy Center, the top 10% of earners would see the largest gains, while the bottom 20% would face an average tax increase by 2034. Supporters say the tax policies will boost investment and job creation, but with no offsetting revenues, the plan adds substantially to long-term deficits. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
With the midterms on everyone's mind, GOP strategist Karl Rove warns that Republicans should not let Democrats dominate the conversation when it comes to Medicaid and entitlement programs in general. He argues that the GOP should go on the offensive, especially as Democratic lawmakers and their favorability are at an all-time low, by reframing this debate with facts, not as gutting Medicaid, but as reforming it to reduce fraud, encourage work, and ensure long-term sustainability. Republicans may have a chance, with activists rallying around slogans like hands off Medicaid. Rove says that silence won't work in this case, and Republicans must counter loudly, again with facts, or risk losing ground heading into those midterms.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.